Hello and welcome back, guys. My name is Firemaster225 and I hope you all enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different than normal, but I thought it was important to make because it's something that I really feel passionate about, and I think that you guys would benefit from the information as well. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today was a few PC buying tips, really tech buying tips in general for 2016. Now, there's a lot of new products coming out, and this isn't really specifically for tech in 2016, but really any tech that you want to purchase, such as a new router, maybe a new hard drive, a new PC entirely, a new microphone, a new camera, whatever it is, just some things to consider. Now, one of the top things when buying anything to consider is your budget. You need to know how much you're willing to spend and how much you can actually spend. Just think really carefully about what funds you have and what funds you will have down the road and what you can actually spend that you don't have to put towards other things. Now, another thing is the reason that you're buying that product. Now, whatever piece of technology it is, whether it's a new radio for your car or a new computer or again a new camera, you need to be able to justify having that purchase. Now, I'm not here to tell you what you need and what you don't need. That's something for you to decide, but don't buy something that's unnecessary. Consider the reason you're getting something. If you're going to upgrade a component in your computer, consider why you're upgrading it. Do you want to upgrade it just so your computer isn't hitting 70% usage? Do you want to get more hard drives just because you think down the line you could possibly reach a full terabyte of storage? Or do you actually need that extra storage space because you're actually running out of storage? Just think really carefully, and I don't want you guys to end up wasting your money on something you may never use. But if it's something you genuinely need and can say, oh, my music and my movies are taking up most of my space, I need more space, or I need a new camera because this camera broke, or this camera isn't the quality that I wish for, just consider that and that would be great. The third thing that I really wanted to mention was something specifically pertaining to computers, and that is whether to build a custom computer or a pre-built computer. This kind of goes along with what you can afford and what you want to be able to afford and what purpose it's for. Consider for yourself, try to do a little bit of research and find out, does it make more sense for you to build a custom PC or buy a pre-built one that might perform a little bit differently or might not be as personalized, or maybe even just go with a laptop instead of a desktop entirely. There's a bunch to consider there, and that's all up to personal choice and personal skill. Usually custom PCs are because someone either wants to have a nice looking PC that also performs well, or someone wants to be able to save a little bit more money than they would if they bought a pre-built one and has that confidence to be able to put it together themselves or find a way locally to get it put together. There's numerous different things, but just consider the option of having a custom PC over a pre-built, or if a pre-built would be better suited than a custom PC if you're just diehard, I want a custom, but it might not be the most practical thing. Now, another really important thing to consider when buying any sort of technology, or really anything in general, is to read reviews. I personally use Newegg for most of my technology shopping, or I'll see something on another site that has a better deal or has the same product for a different bundle maybe, and just read through their reviews. What I was going to say with Newegg is their review system, a lot of people will just post and say this didn't work or DOA or things like that. You can kind of overlook those for the most part because there's always going to be one sample or a few samples of a product depending on how many get shipped out. If 1,000 processor gets sent out, let's look at the 4790K for example, 1,000 of those get shipped out, there's going to be at least one of those that ends up dead for whatever reason. Maybe it was damaged in shipping, maybe the person who installed it incorrectly. There's all sorts of variables, so you can for the most part overlook DOAs unless every single review says DOA. Out of 100 reviews, if all 100 say that, you might want to look towards a different product. But usually if it's a longer, beefier block quote, or they say that they've owned it for a really long time and it worked well for X number of months but then ended up dying for whatever reason, and if that's a common trend you see, that's a little red flag to go towards a different product or look for a different version of the product. Maybe they just had the first iteration was a bad iteration, maybe they redid something in the second iteration and it was worse than the first and they'll fix it later. Just consider all the things, do a little bit of background research, make sure reviews you find are from third parties that aren't being sponsored or paid in any way or funded in any way. by the company that's making the product, or you could find some biased reviews that would lead you to a false conclusion. Something else to consider when buying specifically PCs again, or I guess it could apply to cameras as well, is the environment that you're going to have that technology in. You don't want to get a really expensive Blackmagic Cinema camera if you're going to be filming surf tricks at the beach. If you live out in, let's say, California, you don't want a PC that has no dust filters on it, because if you have a desktop computer without dust filters, there's all sorts of dust in the air down there that can really damage your hardware. So you'd want to try to find something that has dust filters, or if you know you're in a really humid area, maybe find a PC that either has certain water resistant components, or find a way to have a dehumidifier or something. Things like that to consider. You don't just want to put a PC somewhere and then just assume it'll be fine. Make sure you've got the ability to properly ventilate said PC, or a way to properly store whatever tech it is you're buying. Just consider where the tech is going to be stored, how it's going to be used, and kind of think a little bit ahead before you buy it, because I don't want your really expensive, whatever it may be, computer, camera, phone, I don't want that to get destroyed, and I'm sure you don't either. Something else to consider is warranties on products. Now, most people, this is something that they just do by default. They see, oh, register your product and have protection for 2 years with one free replacement or something along those lines. Always, always, always keep warranty papers handy. When the CPU cooler on my computer died, I had all the information handy. I emailed Deepcool, and within a week, I had the new one in my system, and they actually upgraded me to their next gen of the cooler, which, thank you, Deepcool. You're the best. But always, always, always keep warranty information handy. No matter if it's a vacuum, a microwave, a car, whatever it is, this really applies to any product. Keep warranty information handy. A few tips that specifically pertain to custom PCs and pre-built PCs to follow are difficulty versus skill. Now, for custom PCs, you don't want to start a project that's more difficult than what you can do. For example, if you're going with a custom PC and you want to water cool it, maybe you want to do a full custom water loop with hardline tubing, but you have absolutely no idea how to do that, and you're watching some YouTube videos or researching online, and it makes no sense to you. And then in that case, it might make more sense to go with an AIO such as the one I have from Deepcool, or maybe one of the coolers that has the ability to disassemble and make it a custom loop later, albeit not with hardline tubing, but just as a start so you know what you're doing. Just get an idea for what you actually can do before you undertake a project, because it might be more difficult than you think, or it might be more cumbersome than what you can take on. So either find someone who can solve that for you if you come to that, or just from the get-go consider going with something else that's a better solution for you specifically. Now, I'm not saying don't try new things, I'm just saying be careful when you do, because it can be an expensive endeavor if you accidentally tighten down some fittings wrong and spill a ton of coolant all over your brand new PC. Now, onto the pre-built things that I mentioned before. Always look for trade-up options on pre-built PCs. Again, this could kind of apply to cameras or phones, but see if there's any options to take the product back and trade it up within a year or in the future, because usually places like Best Buy, I don't think Newegg participates in such a thing, but you can bring laptops back, I know, and they'll upgrade you to the next one for giving them back that laptop, and you'll get a newer computer for less than it would normally cost. Same thing with phones. AT&T, for example, I don't know if they still do this, but they used to take your old iPhone and you'd get like half off the new iPhone or whatever it is. I know that was the case when I was going from 4 to 4S. You would turn in your old iPhone and they'd give you the new iPhone for nearly half the cost, and it was a really great deal. And just consider that down the line if that's something that would be available to you. And the very last thing I want to cover is how long you plan on keeping the tech. Consider how long you're actually going to be using the tech, and if you're going to need to upgrade it in the future because you went with that specific model. Now, if it's something you're getting a GoPro, there's no major differences that they could do to it. It's always going to stay durable. It's going to last you a while. The only thing that may break on it is if you don't seal the case properly and water leaks in or something. Just consider how long you're going to keep the product. Like, you wouldn't want to buy a netbook if you knew in the next few years you were going to be wanting to play games, because you're not going to be able to do that on a netbook. Or if you know you're going off to college next year and you buy a super beast of a computer and you know you won't be able to play games in college, then that might have been a waste of money. Now, I was kind of using that example because that's something I considered for myself personally, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to keep it with me and be able to game in college. So I feel that that was a good investment for me, but it may not be the same case for everyone. So I hope you all enjoyed this video of just some different tips for buying really any technology in 2016. Some of it applies to absolutely anything you would buy. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this and it helped you guys out. I go by most of these rules personally when I'm shopping, except a few of them that I forget sometimes. Reviews. But thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Oh, that was cool. No.